Hey guys, I'm Tim Miller. This is Structural Integrity. In the Navy, we didn't care about intentions. We care about systems and processes, and mostly results. A lot of construction marketing, in my humble opinion, is built on sand, a lot of fluff, and it doesn't have a foundation. So my goal is to change that. My guest today is Mike Eyman. He is the owner of Nimble Restoration Services, and also he is the guy behind Your Roofologist. He's a high-level operator, and he's moved past the janky roofer stage into a business with real load-bearing strength. Mike, let's get straight into the extraction. You've branded yourself as a consumer protection advocate. Is that a marketing play, or is that a defensive wall that you build to protect the integrity?
So, I mean, when I started it, it wasn't the intention wasn't necessarily as like a lead generation source or anything. Like it developed into that, but really it was just brought about by years of hearing little old ladies that had, been taken advantage of, or just regular people. I mean, regardless of age, there's no regulation here in Texas. I mean, anybody with a pulse and $49 DBA can, with no insurance requirement, no experience requirement, can go out and market themselves as a roofing professional, expert, whatever. And, I just wanted to raise awareness to this. I serve on the executive board of RCAT, which is the Roofing Contractors Association in Texas. I'm in line to be president of the organization in 2028. And, at the end of the day, I just, I run a business with integrity, and I want the industry to be on the level playing field. We kind of have a thing in the industry, a level playing field. There's a Facebook page that's called Level Playing Field. And at the end of the day, I think that, making people aware of what the situation is. There's no license. You got to do your due diligence. You got to ask a lot of questions, especially, even before AI. Google, powerful tool. But now that AI is, on the rise and fully integrated into our phones and our lives, with more to come,
Sure.
I'm sure. I mean, people really have no excuse to not do that homework, do that research.
So let me dovetail into the RCAT thing. So you went for your RCAT license a long time ago, even though Texas doesn't require it. So when a business is moving to that next level of professional service, you're not required to have a license in Texas, but you do.
Correct.
Right. So how does that differentiate?
It's a voluntary license. So we do have a voluntary license, and I talk to contractors on a regular basis. They're like, well, it's a fake license. It's, at the end of the day, calling it a license was before my time. Do I agree that it should be called a license? Not really. I mean, I think the word license insinuates that it is something that is mandatory. But again, this was before my time. And so I'm not going to, raise a fuss about, hey, we should go back and retroactively change this. It's a voluntary license. And, when it comes to not only me, but our sales guys in the company, I make sure that if they're advertising and they're talking to folks and they're saying license, make sure you say RCAT license.
Right.
Not because, again, I don't want to be, especially with me serving on the executive board, I don't want it to come across as, we're misrepresenting what it actually is. It's voluntary, completely voluntary. Now, obviously, there are requirements. There's insurance requirements. There's, background checks. There's, practical application tests and business, basically make sure you're not going to run into the ground and act like it's a piggy bank. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want to misrepresent it. So, but yeah, I mean, I love RCAT. We do a lot for the industry, gatherings, get-togethers, information, teaching. And so, and I would say that, just our annual convention alone is responsible for probably tens of millions of dollars in commerce between contractors to vendors, and so on and so forth. So, definitely a value add. I'm a strong advocate for RCAT. And I'm as outspoken as I possibly can without pissing off everybody.
Well, so with respect to being a value add, I'm going to guess that most homeowners have no idea what RCAT stands for or what that even means. So how do you convey that?
I mean, well, I mean, I lead the conversation with if there's any question, I mean, obviously not every conversation goes into like, hey, there's no license, because sometimes it just doesn't go there. They see the client prospective client sees the value in us, Nimble, my guy, which you're selling yourself, and so that doesn't really come up. But if there's any sort of a situation where they're on the fence and they're kind of apprehensive, we definitely tell them, like, hey, just in case you aren't aware, there's no licensing in Texas, there's no regulation in Texas, and just kind of what I said to you earlier. I mean, the barrier of entry is so incredibly low, which is bizarre to me, considering that you need a license to cut hair and do nails, both of which grow back. And we're over here. I would argue that roofing is not only as important, but more important than your plumbing system, your electrical system.
Sure.
I mean, obviously everything has its place. Bad plumbing, you got sewer inside. Bad electrical, it could burn down the house. But a bad roof, somebody that just doesn't know what they're doing, there's a lot of implications in there. There's water, keeping Mother Nature outside is a big importance. You start getting water inside, and then, mold grows, and then we have air quality issues. And then, there's stuff that can go bad. And so I think that, we're pushing for some kind of regulation in Texas. And, it's just one of those things. I don't necessarily want the government in my business, but by the same token, I'm running a clean business. I'm doing it all ethically. I walk the line. It is what it is. And so, I mean, that's a fundamental truth just within me. But the fact that it's there's laws on the books, and I want to be above. I need to be above reproach, just generally speaking, because of my position. But I want to run a good business. I don't want to. I want to sleep good at night, knowing that I'm not screwing over anybody, and everybody's taken care of, and my clients are raving fans.
So, talk about running a clean business. As you focused on growing and maturing your operations and everything else, what's the one load-bearing system that you had to fix because just couldn't handle the weight of more projects?
So we're actually going through a change right now. So back in 2023, 24, we had an opportunity to really explode in the commercial roofing space, and we did. And we're still working, out. We basically started a separate company with a partner. Partnerships are weird, I mean, they work or they don't. And this one ended up not working. And so at that time, we focused our attention off of a little more so off of residential, and focused hyper focused on the commercial. And we kind of did a reset on the residential. The culture kind of wasn't really where we wanted it to be. And we were like, hey, this is a great opportunity. We'll focus. Anyway, when I came back, I was basically like a one-man show. I had a couple guys here and there, putting on a couple jobs here and there. But, for the most part, I was the one responsible for making sure that, the bills got paid and the lights stay on. Well, what that put me in is a situation where I'm wearing, like, let's call it 4 different hats. I'm sales guy. I'm dealing with production. I'm, also responsible for recruiting and also training. And the reality is, I did some introspection a few months ago. It was probably back in October. And I was like, as much as I want to be that guy that can just, I'm going to handle it all, I'm going to wrangle all that stuff in, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to kill it, I just had to come to the realization and admit to myself, like, look, you're good at what you're good at. And I can't wear that many hats. And not to mention the fact that, when it comes to recruiting and training, I have no problem with the training piece, but because the barrier of entry is so low in this business, you need no knowledge or education. Some of the guys that come in, they're gung-ho when they first get here, and then you spend a lot of time with them in the field, in the classroom, going over the stuff, and then they kind of fizzle out. And admittedly, I'm not the best read on people. I take people for face value. I'm like, oh crap, you're an adult. You're going to wake up in the morning with a purpose, feet hit the floor, and we're going to go, because that's how I am. But not everybody's like me. And not to say I'm necessarily special, but you in this business, the only way to thrive is to wake up with a purpose and then execute that purpose.
Absolutely.
And so, I am now in a situation where my wife and I actually run the business with my wife, Shannon. And so we're in a situation now where we've already hired on a new sales team manager. We're potentially bringing on a second to launch, get really dig into 2026. And that's going to take two of those hats. So that's going to take the recruiting and the training piece off me. That way I can drop in to a classroom session or drop into the field and help the guys with training, but that it's not 100% on me. So I think that would be like a kind of the sticking point that we've been dealing with for over a year. And I was just too naive to admit it, maybe. I don't know what the situation, but I'm glad that, I had that moment where I just had to kind of admit, hey man, we need to delegate this out to somebody. And so I've got some really good, team members, and we're psyched at what, the prospect of 2026.
Yeah, that's cool. I've heard a lot of times, a lot of solopreneurs get into the mentality where, look, nobody's going to do what I do like the way that I do it. And the only way to get past that mindset is understand that, like, somebody else's 80% of what I would do is 100% awesome, right? Even if they're not 100%, it's 100% awesome. Well, I'm a firm believer in video with respect to that being one of the most critical ways to prove your expertise before you even arrive at a site. How much weight do you give video in your overall system for building trust with your homeowners who never even met you?
As big as you do. So that's really how my Your Roofologist brand really started. It was, hey, Mike Eyman here, your roofologist, coming at you from whatever city I was in. And then I would just show people, like, hey, here's what you're looking out for. This pipe jack's turned backwards, or this thing has 2 layers of shingles on it. You should do a full clean tear down every single time. And it really resonated. It started off as kind of like I said earlier, like a little pet project. Just to, I wanted an avenue or an outlet to get this information out. And then it developed into, people really being receptive and calling me, oh, I've seen your videos. I love it. That's great. It builds a lot of trust because, obviously the schmucks of the industry of any industry can video themselves, but I would probably argue that most of them don't want to do that because they don't want to expose themselves for what's really going on. But, I have no problem. I've definitely died down on the videos that I'm personally doing. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and, I do some long form content. Most of it's like product reviews or just, stuff like that. But we also do destructive testing. I've got this thing right here. Yeah, this actually shoots frozen tennis balls at about 85 miles an hour. And so we do destructive testing. So cool. And it's good for content. And it's also just like, hey man, Texas, for America, sure. And so we enjoy it. I've got a shop out back, and we shoot solar panels and all kinds of roofing materials and siding and stuff like that. And again, it makes great content, and it's fun for me and the guys because sometimes I'll have an acquaintance in a roofing industry come in town from another state, and I'm like, hey man, drop by, some manufacturers, and we'll shoot the AR, and then I have a big hail cannon which does, it's ridiculous. It'll go 250 miles an hour, a golf ball. Yeah. So, but yeah, I definitely, long story short, I love doing video. Mm-hmm. It's or the effects of video. Yeah,
it's super really important, especially just a video mentality with respect to users. They like to see people, products, and processes. Anytime you can show them those things, you're winning. So you talk about this. You have this term we call janky roofer.
Yeah.
If a business owner believes that they may be stuck in that janky phase, or they're just not doing things right, what's the first structural change you believe that they need to make to start growing with integrity and, in your words, being above reproach?
Honestly, that's a tough one, because if you're like, my critique of the janky roofer and really what that embodies is people that are just in it for a quick buck. They'll do anything. They'll slap anything up there. They're putting like asphalt sealant on top of the shingles, knowing that that's not a long-term solution, and it's not UV stable, stuff like that. So if I'm talking to somebody that is in that janky phase, like, my advice would be to go to some classes on how to do stuff properly. Distributors, material distributors offer these classes all the time. but at the end of the day, I would also argue that if a business is in that janky phase, they're probably not looking to change. I mean, realistically, because the amount of information that is available to us, especially now with everybody having essentially a supercomputer in their pocket with AI, I mean, I don't know if there's help for somebody that is only in for a buck. But if there's somebody starting out, let's back up and say that this person is starting out the business and not wanting to get trapped in and be categorized as a janky roofer. I would go back to, there are countless resources, one of which is RCAT. I would highly recommend. Now the reality is that in order to be in membership with RCAT, just membership, not the voluntary license, you need to be in business for a year. I mean, this is not for just, hey, I had a decision, an epiphany, and I'm going to start a roofing company overnight, and you can just instantly get in. So we're not trying to make the barrier of entry into the organization insurmountable, but we're also trying to make it to where, hey, you've done business for a year, cool, now we can get this accreditation. But again, not manufacturers, but distributors, hell, even manufacturers offer these classes, metal 101, metal roofing 101, tile, slate, different, all the manufacturers have their own. You can literally have these guys come in from different shingle manufacturers. They'll come in and they'll train you on all the things that is proper installation and specs and how to communicate this to the client. So with all of the information at our disposal, I just don't see that there's a reason for a janky roofer to be janky. It's just one of those things where, it's an ethical thing.
Sure.
If you're out there doing that kind of just business, you're not looking to change. You're just looking at where's the next buck coming from. And so, but again, I guess if we reframe it in the sense that it's a new business that just wants to make sure that they don't end up in the situation of being called a janky roofer, well, figure out what you're doing.
Right.
There's countless information. I mean, there's even owner forums. I'm a member of an owner forum, which it's called Roofers Helping Roofers. And it's great. It's great. It's a Facebook Messenger thread, and we compare notes, we share information, we share situations that we're dealing with, and other people chime in on how to help. And so, that type of community, if you're starting out a business, it's there. The information is there. And so there is, in my opinion, absolutely no excuse for you to be out there just doing dirt and just, taking advantage of folks for quick buck.
Absolutely. So dovetailing that into just marketing in general, digital search is changing. AI is increasing exponentially.
Oh yeah.
So people are asking their phones for answers. How are you ensuring that your roofologist and your other business are the authoritative answer in an AI-driven world?
So we're actually working on that right now. So I have, I'm doing kind of, instead of a marketing company, we've had some, questionable experiences in the past. I'm actually hiring a consultant to basically look at our online presence every month and just give us information. That way we can do it in-house. That way I know exactly what's happening. And as far as AI search, as far as just, blogs, updated blogs and, different, like the posts that we make, which ones should be sponsored. We should get this one out to the masses. It's a well put together. My daughter actually is our social media manager per se. And it gives me a way to make sure she have money without just giving her money. And, but it's good. She does some really good stuff through Canva and writing the copy, and, we change it up a little bit but she's learning. But some of these posts, I don't really know. I do a lot of organic stuff. The vast majority, 98% of my stuff is organic. And so I don't sponsor a bunch. I don't pay for SEO. We're Google guaranteed. That's about the extent of my paid stuff. We're going to be doing some different stuff, some changing up some things in 2026, taking on some EDDM campaigns and some integrations with Nextdoor and whatnot. But, and then we built an AI platform in-house to kind of help us, get in front of, property owners that may need services. So, it's an exciting time, but, Yeah, I mean that's really what we're doing. So my consulting firm is essentially going to advise me on what needs to be done. Because from a technology standpoint, man, I mean I'm not quite 50, but you know sometimes I feel like I'm 80, like I'm trying to like hook up the DVD player, and you know, and so you know, I mean I'm not completely inept, but you know it's one of those things where I don't necessarily want to learn all the back end stuff that somebody like you would know.
Yeah.
I just want to know brass tacks. What do I need to do? Where do I need to post this? Do I need to sponsor this and get this out to the masses, or if this some kind of placeholder post where it's just it's proof of
Yeah.
you know legitimacy, where okay, well these guys are posting regularly, they're getting some engagement,
Right.
whatever. And so yeah, that's really what we're doing in 2026, just to kind of you know keep things compartmentalized.
Great. What have you, as you've been growing your different businesses, what's the biggest lie that marketing gurus tell construction owners that actually prevents them from maturing and growing?
I mean, lead generation is an absolute racket. Lead generation is an absolute racket. We have been royally screwed over the years. Uh, I mean, to the point where I had to sue one company, and you know we settled, but um, everything's exclusive. Everybody's got the secret sauce, and then you find out it's Whataburger ketchup, and you know they took a course, you know, probably online, and they don't know, you know, they don't know anything of what's going on, and they may be able to produce, but you know most of these guys, they want to come in and they want to manage your ads, your ad spend, which means you're out, you know, couple thousand a month there. And then on the back end, if you close anything, they, you know, if you get anything out of that, they want some of that. And I'm like, doesn't make sense, you know? So that's why this year we're doing stuff outside of just online, like I said, the EDDM campaigns and whatnot. But, you know, we're just, you know, keeping it closer to the vest instead of just be like, yeah, sure. Produce me leads, give me, you know, this stuff. So, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no,
what
that's
we're doing.
good. That's good.
Consulting instead of
Yeah,
full
no,
firm.
that's great. And I've seen that happen a lot, where businesses will just start running ads without a really good big picture approach. Meaning, you know,
Yeah.
what I like to do is I like to have companies that I work with start at ground level and have an organic system first that is really solid. So that when you do start running ads, it's a force multiplier of sorts. And you already have authority in the space. So that's been great. Well, Mike, I tell you what, that's about it. Appreciate you coming on and giving the intel.
Yeah, man.
And this is...
Well, I appreciate being the first of I'm sure many, but yeah, hope you got what you needed, man. I'm definitely an advocate for, you know, our industry, you know, RCAT, and you know, making the industry better. So hopefully at the end of it all, you know, that'll be my legacy,
Sweet.
so to speak, you know, making it better.
Awesome.